Each year, the state of California gives billions of dollars away in the form of tax breaks to support and incentivize certain business behavior. The question is, do all those billions of dollars of tax breaks really produce the desired results? Our guest is Elaine Howell, the California State Auditor, who recently issued a report examining that very question. Corporate tax breaks, are they cost effective?
Additional funding for the Maddie Report made possible by a grant from The Wonderful Company, harvesting health and happiness around the world, and by Kaiser Permanente. Thrive. From the California Channel at the State Capitol and the Maddie Institute, it's the Maddie Report with Executive Director of the Maddie Institute, Mark Kepler.
Welcome. Are tax breaks California provides companies too much, too little, or just right? The State Auditor, Elaine Howell, is our guest, and here to explain a recent report evaluating the effectiveness of state tax breaks to corporations. Welcome.
Thank you.
So let's put our conversation in context. What percentage of the state revenue is derived from personal income taxes, from sales taxes, and from corporate taxes?
A huge percentage. It's upwards of $90 billion out of our budget of a $100 billion budget. So it's in the high 90 some odd percent. Now, corporate taxes, which this audit focuses on, is about 7%, but that's still a lot of money. That's $7 billion that the state gets.
You think 7% doesn't sound like much. Then you say the number $7 billion, like, wow, that's a lot of money.
Right.
So collected, how much, so it's about, you said how many billions of dollars?
It's about $7 billion,
$7 billion
that
okay.
the state actually collects.
And that's about 7-8%
Right.
of the revenue. So how much money goes to kind of forego? How much money are they losing by giving tax breaks?
Right, great question. I mean, you're looking at corporate tax, we collect a little over $7 billion. In that same year, we were looking at fiscal year 12-13, we gave up
That's right.
close to $5 billion.
Wow.
So again, that's a huge amount of money that the state
almost the same amount.
Exactly,
Quite
pretty
a
close
bit.
to the same amount.
Okay, so what are corporate tax expenditures, and what's their purpose?
Right. A corporate tax expenditure, it sounds like a funny description, but it's similar if you're looking at an individual income tax, you write off interest on your home, and that gives you a little bit of a tax break as far as what you owe the federal government in taxes. Corporate tax expenditures are similar, where it gives corporations, small businesses an opportunity to take a credit against their tax liability.
Can you give me some examples?
Sure. A big example, the biggest one that we looked at was research and development. So if companies are investing in research and development that hopefully will benefit the state in creating jobs, et cetera, they can take a certain portion of that expenditure as a credit against their tax
Seems
liability.
logical. We're going to look a little bit more later about whether or not that actually works, but let's talk about these credits. Is it a use it or lose it situation, or can you kind of accumulate these credits and keep them over time?
Some of them are on an annual basis, but let's go back to the research and development. That is a tax that major corporations really benefit from, and the interesting aspect of that tax is they can carry those credits over into perpetuity. They can use them either in the year that they're investing in R&D, or if they decide, well, it's not going to benefit us all that much this year, let's hold on to it and use it in a few years.
So how much, when we're talking about this credit liability, how much is outstanding?
Well, there's since the inception of the R&D credit through the time frame we conducted our audit, it's about $14 billion. So there's a lot of money out there that companies can use to offset what they would owe the state in corporate taxes.
Which is twice as much as the total corporate taxes that were paid last year.
Absolutely, that's
wow,
correct.
Wow. Okay, so about the tax breaks, not the credits, or whether or not you can keep those credits, but the tax breaks themselves, do they sunset or do they go on in perpetuity? I mean, once the corporate taxes is passed, established, then what?
Well, those are some of the concerns that we raised in the audit report, or issues that we raised for the legislature to consider. We didn't see sunsets in the 6 corporate tax expenditures that we looked at. Now, we also were asked by the legislature to look at what other states do, and some other states do have sunsets. But in California, we didn't see any, particularly for the 6 largest corporate tax expenditures. R&D is one of them, but of the 6 we looked at that accumulated, that totaled up to about $2 billion on an annual basis. None of those had a sunset date on them.
And I would think that it would be, if it doesn't have a sunset date, it's going to be very difficult then probably to change it, because there's a constituency there that wants that corporate tax break. So I think once it's in, probably pretty hard to get out. What about administrative oversight? Does it require a lot of administrative oversight, these corporate tax breaks?
No, not necessarily. In fact, the Legislative Analyst's Office has done some research in the past. They used to look at tax credits in the past. They don't necessarily look at all of them now. But some of the research that they've done and analysis that they have done shows that it doesn't require a lot of administrative oversight. We don't have one state agency in California that's responsible for that. But we don't think, and we agree with LAO, that it wouldn't require a lot of administrative investment.
What about the legislature? The legislature has supposedly an oversight function. Are they going back and seeing if these tax breaks are having their intended effect?
No, not necessarily, and that's one of the recommendations that we have in the report as a best practice, and we actually saw that as a best practice in some other states.
So maybe they'll adopt it here in California. Well, thanks for explaining the basics of corporate tax breaks, because I know that's a complicated topic. Up next, what did the review of the state's biggest corporate tax breaks reveal? That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. We're talking with State Auditor Elaine Howe about results of a recent investigation they did on tax breaks for corporations that the state gives, totaling $5 billion. So some corporate tax breaks seem to be having their intended effect. One that you talk about is the Subchapter S Corporation, bit of a mouthful. What is it, and how much money does it cost the state?
Subchapter S Corporation is a entity that really benefits small businesses. So we're trying to give a tax break or a tax credit to businesses that have less than 100 shareholders so that those businesses can continue to be competitive in California. So what California has chosen to do when an entity chooses to be a Subchapter S corporation, they pay a lower tax amount than a huge, large corporation.
People fail to realize that small business is really the economic engine in this country. I mean, 80% of the employment is in small business, so this is pretty significant. How much money does the state pay out or lose, in a sense? How much does it cost to provide this Subchapter S corporation?
For the Subchapter S, for the year we looked at, again, was fiscal year 12-13. It was about $220 million. So again, those small businesses are paying a lower tax. But again, as you said, small businesses are really important to California, and we want those small businesses to be able to be competitive, and that's why this Subchapter S designation is available to small companies.
Is it working?
It is working. It's something that seems to be very beneficial to small businesses. We think, and from the evidence that we saw when we conducted the audit, a lot of businesses are taking advantage of this, and we are seeing that they are really benefiting. Small businesses are thriving in California. It creates jobs. So this is one of the tax expenditures that we looked at we think is working well.
It was interesting, the GAO, the General Accounting Office, the federal GAO, found that 94% of companies that use this Subchapter S have 3 or fewer shareholders. So we're talking small
Really
business.
Small businesses, absolutely.
There's other corporate tax breaks that appear to be fulfilling their objectives, but probably could be made a little more efficient and effective. One is this thing you refer to as the Water's Edge election. Sounds interesting. What is it, and what is the legislature trying to accomplish by creating it?
Right. Water's Edge is a really interesting one. I actually learned a lot when I was reading the reports that staff were putting together. Water's Edge is essentially an option that a corporation can choose in determining what their tax liability is. So, for example, if it's a major corporation that not only has offices in the United States and certainly in California, but have branches or subsidiaries in Europe, they can limit their tax liability to those businesses that function in the United States. So they don't have to include any income that they're generating from their subsidiaries in Europe.
How much does that cost the state in a tax break?
The Water's Edge is big. It's about $700 million for the year we looked at during the course of the audit.
Could it be improved by taxing money that's being shifted to these offshore tax havens?
Right.
There's some playing a little bit here.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have 2 suggestions related to Water's Edge. One is these tax havens, and people have probably heard about some of those discussions where there are countries that have little or no tax that they charge, and many corporations ship some of their profits, et cetera, to those tax havens. What we were suggesting, and we've seen again, a lot of other states have done this, is expanding that Water's Edge to some of those countries to include them.
So some of that revenue would be captured and it would be taxed.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I think that you said, how much money could California recoup from that? I think, was it $20 to $40 million?
Right, those are some of the estimates. The Department of Finance captures all of this information, and just in the first year it would be about $20 million, but it would go up to as much as $40 million a year after that.
Another Another business tax break that seems to need a little work, could be amended to work better, is the low-income housing credit. What is it, why was it created, and how much is it costing?
Well, low-income housing credit, just based on its name, it was to try to stimulate growth and investment in low-income housing for folks in California. So it allowed developers to seek out investors. So a developer could offer credits to investors. Invest in my project. I want to build this low-income housing development in Fresno, and I don't have the finances to be able to do it myself, so I get the investors to invest in my project. Once that project is built, that investor now gets those credits, so that investor can use that credit against their tax liability. I don't use it as a developer. The investors get that credit from me.
And that's about $50 million a year.
Right.
How could we make it better?
Well, I think we need to make it better because part of the concern that we talk in the audit report is some investors are saying, well, that reduces my state tax liability, and then when I apply that when I'm paying my federal taxes, my federal taxes are going to go up. So I'm not willing to give you a dollar for a dollar. If I'm investing in your project, I'm saying, well, I'll give you 70 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
So if we modify that program where the investor actually purchases the credit, then they may be willing to pay more for that particular
the
credit.
full amount. The last one I want to talk about is the state's film and TV credit.
Right.
The idea, well, it works, I guess, sort of. The idea is that it's going to keep more of that TV and film production here in California. How much does that cost, and is it keeping film and TV production here in California?
Right. The film and tax credit, I think, is about $100 million for the year that we looked at, and we did see there certainly are a lot of jobs that are created by the film industry. We did benefit from that as far as film and television industry wanting to film in California because there are so many other states. There are 30-plus states that also provide
Everybody
credits.
wants that business.
So everybody wants that business. So we think it is successful, but there are some things that we also think could be modified to make it better.
Okay, well, up next, some corporate tax breaks are supposed to benefit the state, but what do you do when there's no proof that they actually do benefit the state? That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddie Report. Welcome back. We're talking with State Auditor Elaine Howell about the results of a recent investigation on the state's corporate tax breaks. The investigation actually revealed that in some instances, the state has no idea if a tax break is worth it. One of those is the state's R&D, Research and Development Tax Credit. How much, first of all, does that cost?
Right. On an annual basis, it's about the year we looked at was about $1.5 billion over the course of a particular fiscal year that we looked at.
And the total amount, because we were talking about liabilities last time, you're saying ongoing liabilities, this one is $14 billion?
That's correct. Since this credit was established, it was established a couple decades ago, but still what this credit allows corporations to do is carry it over, and the liability that's out there is $14 billion.
Sitting out there. And to put it in context, that's twice as much as all the corporate taxes that California receives in 1 year.
That's correct.
2 years worth.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of money. So, okay, do we know if it's working?
Well, the problem is we don't know whether it's working. And the reason we don't know whether it's working is there aren't really metrics or any expectations that were laid out when this tax credit was first enacted way back in the late 80s. So there really aren't things to measure against. It was intended certainly to create jobs, to allow for creative and inventive work being done by corporations and to allow them to take a tax credit. But what we don't know is that working or not?
You would think that would be a normal thing to ask, a normal question to ask. See, if we give
Right.
you this benefit, it's going to lead to R&D, it's going to lead to employment. Okay, let's get the numbers, but they don't do that, apparently.
No, they don't do that.
Now, there is some economic literature, though, that seems to say that it might stimulate R&D to have one of these R&D tax credits. So there is some information out there, just not in California.
Right, there is some information out there, and I think it goes both ways. There are some studies that say, yes,
Okay.
this is really beneficial for a variety of different states that have this type of a tax credit, and then there are other studies that have been done that say, well, no, not so much. It may not be worth the amount of money that a state is giving up.
So how can California begin to figure out whether the R&D tax credit that it's giving is actually working?
Well, we made recommendations to the legislature that there needs to be metrics. So we certainly looked at best practices that are used in other states. And one of those best practices is set up some metrics. What do we expect when we're giving up this type of revenue, or this type of revenue that the state would receive in taxes?
Because you're giving
what
away
are we getting in exchange?
$1.5 billion a year, and you don't really know what you're getting for that.
Right, right. And what one state did, the state of Washington actually did an analysis to say, okay, here's the amount of tax credits the revenue we've given up. How many jobs did that create, and how much did it cost per job? for us to give that up. And based on their analysis, the state of Washington decided to let that tax credit expire. So they don't have an R&D tax credit in Washington
That's
anymore.
taking the next step. It's not just doing the analysis, but then acting on it.
That's correct.
Wow. Well, another tax credit whose effectiveness really is not known is the minimum franchise tax exemption. What is that? What is its
Well,
goal?
the minimum franchise tax exemption is an exemption for a company that essentially is a startup, and it typically has to pay, it's a small fee, $800, at least in my view, that's a small fee. And so they don't have to pay that fee that first year to the state of California. So it's not a significant amount of money in the state of California, but again, it's benefiting small businesses.
Okay, so not a significant amount. How much?
I think it's about $45 million on an annual basis.
It's always fun and interesting,
Yeah.
only when at the state capitol. 45 million is really not significant.
Yeah,
Most people
yeah.
think, whoa, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, how can the state accurately measure its effectiveness? How could it find out if it's worth it?
Sure. This is one that we looked at to see, the idea was to stimulate small businesses and to have more and more small businesses wanting to start operating in California, giving them the benefit of that $800 credit in that first year to really stimulate growth in small businesses in California. So we looked over time and we said, yeah, there has been an increase, but we felt that some of that increase was really related to the boom in the economy, and that really has tailed off now. So we're really not sure whether or not is benefiting small businesses in California, or whether it's stimulating or really incentivizing folks to want to start a small business.
Yeah, the question is $800 enough to really spur that kind of business growth? Maybe for a small startup that's just trying, maybe that $800 makes a big difference, but that needs to be studied, obviously.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So what about placing a cap on corporate tax breaks? Is that a good idea?
Well, it depends. Some of them, it doesn't make sense to put a cap on the particular tax credit. For example, the S chapter corporation.
Which seems to be working.
Yeah, it seems to be working. Plus, how do you place a cap? So do you want to, that may hurt some small businesses. Well, oh, you've placed a cap, you've already hit your cap, but I wanted to benefit from that. I want to, have my small business be an S chapter corporation. So there are some that don't make sense. There are some where there actually is a cap. The film and tax credit actually does have a cap on its particular amount of money that the California is willing to
What about
forego.
R&D? Should that have a cap on it?
Well, again, I think that where the California needs to study that. We need to really figure out whether or not it's a beneficial tax credit in California, or tax expenditure, and then determine whether or not it makes sense to establish a cap.
Now, that makes sense. Well, up next, we're going to talk about some of the best practices that are occurring in other states when it comes to corporate tax breaks. That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddie Report. Welcome back. We're talking with the state auditor, Elaine Howe, about the corporate tax breaks that California gives, and want to see how the state can get a better bang for the buck, essentially. So one of the points you make in your report is that the state should adopt best practices of other states. And one of the things you talk about, one of your suggestions, is to clearly define the policy objectives behind the particular tax break. Why was it enacted? Which seems logical.
Right.
And then to periodically update those objectives and measure them, see if they're actually being hit.
Right.
I thought there was a law in 2014 that was passed that mandated that we have to do just that.
Right. There actually was legislation enacted and passed in 2014 that would require specific objectives for, if you're going to introduce a bill related to a tax credit, you've got to have your specific, what's the intent of this particular tax credit? How are we going to measure how successful it is?
What
But
happened?
then when we looked at the bills, we only saw 2 out of the 9 bills that made their way through the process actually included any kind of objectives or performance measures or anything to determine, okay, when we look back in a few years, to determine how successful this tax credit is.
And
we'll
that's
be
the
able to
oversight
do that.
function. The legislature, if they pass a law, they need to make sure that it's being implemented
Right.
properly. So what are some examples of some states that actually did that?
Well, the state of Washington actually has a statute that requires every tax credit or tax expenditure to be looked at every 10 years, and then to determine whether or not it needs to be modified. If it's working somewhat well, let's keep it, but let's make it even better. There are some that the state of Washington has decided to eliminate.
The
then there are
R&D
some-
R&D credit we
the
talked
R&D
about.
credit is an perfect example of that. And then there are some that they think are functioning quite well that continue. But every single one has to be looked at least on a 10-year cycle.
What about the recommendation to apply a sunset date for all corporate tax breaks? What about that?
We actually think that's a very good recommendation.
Yeah.
That's why we made it. And we did see that in the state of Oregon. They actually have a default. It's a 6-year cycle. So every 6 years, unless there's an analysis to demonstrate that that tax credit or tax expenditure should continue, it automatically sunsets. So something like that we think would be really important in California, and it would force the legislature and the administration, Department of Finance or Franchise Tax Board or whomever, to do that analysis at least on a 5-year or 6-year basis.
Well, how would that work? Would that end automatically?
Well, I think that would be the policy decision that would need to be made. Of course, in Oregon, it's an automatic 6-year default, so every single tax credit. California, we may decide we want some to be 10 years because of the type of tax credit it is. Some, maybe it's a 3 or 4 year cycle where we have a sunset date, and that forces the analysis of that particular tax credit.
Yeah, it seems like the Northwest and Oregon and Washington, they're doing a lot of this stuff that California can learn from. You know, you suggest that a state entity should be assigned the task of evaluating all these corporate tax breaks, but you know, your audit covered a lion's share of those corporate tax breaks. Couldn't you just expand your analysis to all of them? You want more work?
Well, certainly our office could do it, but the Department of Finance is the agency that really captures and reports annually on the amount of tax credits or tax expenditures that California has given up, essentially given out, the amount of revenue that we've given up. So they would certainly possibly be an entity. The Ledge Analyst's Office in the past used to do analyses of these. Certainly when their budget and their staffing was cut, they cut back. So they do some on at the request of the legislature at times, but there needs to be some state entity that does.
There's
take a
also the
look
state
at this.
auditor.
There is the state auditor's office.
Do you think it needs to be maybe an entirely new entity?
No, not necessarily. I think we have the expertise in California where it could be done either by Department of Finance, which is our budget organization under the governor, but certainly Legislative Analyst, which is the office that analyzes the budget on behalf of the legislature. So
a shout out to H.D. Palmer at the Department of Finance or Mac Taylor at the Legislative Analyst. Hey,
right.
The state auditor thinks maybe you should take on this task.
Right.
I don't know how they feel about that. All right, what about best practices you highlight on terms of policy recommendations to continue, modify, or repeal some tax breaks based on performance metrics? Can you give me an example of a state that does that and how it works?
Again, the state of Washington. We're giving them a lot of props in this,
Yeah,
in this interview, but they actually created a commission that is made up of the state auditor in Washington, some other people in the executive branch, and then some other members of the public who are on this commission. And that commission actually looks at these various tax breaks and looks at the various metrics and determines whether or not those metrics make sense or whether we need to modify them. So they have a very formal process in Washington that we think we could either mirror or at least steal some of their good ideas and use in California.
And just to be fair to the other 50 states, there are other states. I know we've focused on Washington, but Maryland, for example, is another state you mentioned in your report that's doing work in that way. So finally, I want to ask you about this. These best practices. You're saying the state could recognize a lot of benefits by following these. I'll give you a chance to elaborate.
Well, I think that the partnership between the executive branch and the legislature in providing oversight on these corporate tax expenditures, do we really need to continue? And some of them, again, as we discussed, are very beneficial, certainly to small businesses in California. But the R&D tax credit, quite frankly, is a huge tax credit. The corporations that benefit from that, the vast majority of them have gross revenue of over $1 billion. So we're talking huge businesses that are benefiting.
I think that R&D tax credit of $1.5 billion has got a gigantic bullseye on it right now. I want to thank Elaine Howell, the state auditor, for joining us. If you want to follow state and local politics, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or log on to our website at maddieins.org to follow us on the Maddie Daily. Thank you for joining us on the Maddie Report. This is Mark Kepler.
The views expressed in the Maddie Report are those of the individuals participating in the program and do not necessarily reflect those of the California Channel or the Maddie Institute. If you'd like to share your thoughts about the points and opinions expressed on the Maddie Report, visit our website at maddieinstitute.org.